What if the skies above you darkened with a bird the size of a small plane, or a winged predator lurked in the forest waiting to strike? Today we're looking at 5 terrifying birds that you should be glad went extinct. Let's dive in. At number 5 we have Teratornis, also known as the giant condor. Today's California condors have a wingspan of up to 10 feet long, but what if I told you that Teratornis absolutely dwarfed this bird? It had a wingspan of up to 12.5 feet and stood 75 centimeters tall. This makes it larger than today's Andean condors, which are bigger than the California condor. It also doubled the weight of the California condor. It ruled the world in North America during the Pliocene era, which was about 12,000 years ago. This means that it roamed the earth with things like the Smilodon, which is the saber-toothed cat, and woolly mammoths as well. Early humans also would have interacted with this bird during that time period. Now, what's terrifying about Teratornis is that unlike the California condor, there is a possibility that it was an active predator. It had a very strong beak with the ability to rip the flesh off of its prey. However, this is still up for debate. It's very possible that it was also just a scavenger as well. Teratornis is also the genus name, which means that there's a lot of birds that fall into this species. There's Teratornis miriam, wordburnensis, and also olsoni. But scientists aren't exactly sure about that last one, whether it falls into the same genus as these other birds. Another dark thought is that the La Brea tar pits and LA are where a lot of these Teratornis fossils have been found, meaning that when megafauna like the mammoth or the Smilodon got trapped in the tar pits, Teratornis most likely was hanging around ready to devour any trapped animal, and sometimes got trapped itself. A related bird that lived much earlier than Teratornis is known as Aepyornis incredibilis. I'm so bad at these scientific names. This was about 40% larger than Teratornis, which is absolutely wild to think about. All right, next up on our list at number 4 is Aepyornis, also known as the elephant bird. Aepyornis is a bird that was endemic to the island of Madagascar. Again, this is a genus, so there's other birds that fall into this genus, not just one Aepyornis, but there's also Aepyornis hildebrandt and Maximus being the larger of the two. This bird was flightless, and its closest living relatives are actually the kiwi that lives in New Zealand today, which is absolutely hilarious to think about, that a bird so large could become something so small over thousands of years. The largest of these birds weighed between 610 and 2,200 pounds, making it possibly the largest bird to ever walk the earth. It also stood 9.8 feet tall, which is just incredible to think about, a bird the size of a basketball hoop. To help you rest easy, these birds were not carnivores, they were herbivores. But these birds' eggs were so large that it helped inspire the legend of the roc, a giant mythological bird that could carry elephants and fought giant serpents in the Middle East. If you haven't subbed to my Mythic Wilds channel, I encourage you to do so, because very soon we're going to be talking about the roc and how Aepyornis and a giant Malagasy eagle plays into this whole legend. But what happened to these giant birds? It went extinct about 1000 AD, which is actually very recently, and it was most likely due to hunting and the introduction of domestic birds, which brought diseases along with them. Number 3 on my list today is the Kelenken, also known as the terror bird. These were large predatory birds that lived in the Argentinian area about 15 million years ago. This genus specifically is considered the largest of all terror birds. These birds couldn't fly, but scientists actually think that they were pretty fast on their feet and could track down mammalian prey if they wanted to. They stood a whopping 9.8 feet as well. They were close to that 10-foot mark, and they weighed 220 pounds. They were also considered the apex predators in South America for quite a long time period. Some Haasids, or however you say that word, which are terror birds, even survived into the Pliocene, which just speaks to their success. They lasted a very long time. These birds most likely went extinct to how a lot of our birds today go extinct, the introduction of mammalian species, but this wasn't human caused, obviously. The Isthmus of Panama joined together, and that allowed a lot of these mammalian predators to cross over. Terror birds weren't equipped to stop these things with their claws and their sharp teeth, and so they were very quickly driven to extinction. But also climate change could have played a key role in ending the terror bird's reign on Earth. Number 2 on my list you may have heard of before. It's known as the Haast eagle, and this was another New Zealand bird that was considered the giant eagle. It's the largest eagle in world's history that we currently know of, and it weighed between 22 and 40 pounds. If you compare that to the harpy eagle today, which is one of the biggest eagles on Earth, that one only weighs a maximum of 20 pounds. So a harpy eagle would have been considered a baby Haast eagle from that time period. This eagle was terrifying and hunted a massive bird called the moa. The moa was also 10 feet tall and weighed 440 pounds. Haast eagles actually lived until quite recently and went extinct around 1445 after the arrival of the Maori people, who hunted the moa to extinction and also introduced rats to the island. This bird was known to rip the organs of its prey. It wasn't just a scavenger, it didn't just go after small animals, it went after the moa, a 10-foot tall bird, and it targeted its organs. Because its prey was so large, it was known to enjoy its meal for over several days. Before the arrival of the Maori, the only mammal species that we know of that were on the island were 3 species of bats, but otherwise birds dominated every single ecological niche that there was in New Zealand. The moa were like our deer or cattle today. They were grazers, and the Haast eagle were like our wolves and our grizzly bears. They were the apex predators. At one point, the Haast eagle population reached 3,000 to 4,500 breeding pairs. But the arrival of the Maori meant that the Haast eagle now had competition for its prey. The Maori also relied on the moa and other large birds in New Zealand for their food sources, and so they started to directly compete with these eagles. Some Maori legends talk about large birds going after humans as well, which is absolutely certainly possible given the large size of the Haast eagle. There's no evidence to support this, at least no archaeological evidence, but the stories are good enough for me. If they say that they were being attacked by large eagles and there was a large eagle on the island, I wouldn't put it past them. Plus, they're way smaller than the moa. With the extinction of the moa, the Haast eagle was not far behind, and that led to its demise. Last but not least is a bird that you probably have never heard of called Dromornis, also known as the demon duck. These birds were native to Australia during the Oligocene and the Pliocene epochs, about 8 million years ago to around 30,000 years ago, so not very long ago at all. Again, this was a genus of birds, so there were a lot of species that fell into this category. This is another bird that's in contention for the largest bird in the world's history. Like its nickname demon duck suggests, it was actually related to today's waterfowl more than any other large terror bird that walked the earth. Again, this bird was also flightless, but it ran pretty fast. The smallest of this genus stood about 5 feet tall and weighed 550 pounds, and the largest weighed up to 1,430 pounds and stood about 9.8 feet tall. This is obviously rivaling the Aepyornis for the largest bird to ever walk the earth. Despite all of this, the bird was also thought to have been an herbivore. But what I'm wondering is what in the world preyed on Dromornis? Because if there was a bird that did, that thing would be terrifying. Around 30,000 years ago, the last demon duck fell. This was most likely due to competition once again from other predators, including mammals that entered the area. Another downfall to this bird is that it took incredibly long to breed. It wasn't a quick breeder, they took a long time to grow up, and they only laid a couple eggs during their breeding time. So it wasn't a quick breeder, and that just spells disaster for a lot of birds, including our condors today. All right, now I call these birds terrifying, but in reality, even the largest, most powerful birds can go extinct. And all species are worth protecting on this planet. If you'd like to learn more how to protect today's species, check out the links in the description below. I have some conservation organizations that you can donate your time or money to help our birds not go extinct. Remember that over on Bright-Eyed Birding, I take you on adventures. One time a week, we go see some incredible birds, including the California condor, so make sure you go subscribe. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope to see you all next time on Bright-Eyed Birding Learn.